You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes, episode 212, baby. We are back for another exciting episode. Lots to talk about. And without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Volda Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
I will certainly not let a Vikings loss or the Lynx being robbed of another championship let down the week that we've got coming up here, and especially this Saturday. I mean, we've got a live show coming up here with the Granite City Lumberjacks. I'm looking forward to that. Of course, we'll talk more about that later on, but let's not let a couple of bad losses really sour on things here to talk about here tonight.
There's one story I'm going off on, and then there's one where we're being realistic. So,
yep.
There's a lot to talk about tonight, and
a lot.
Voldy, you kind of previewed it, but before we get to that, we got to do a couple things. One,
yes,
the Granite City Lumberjacks special, our second annual, yes, sir. This Saturday, 3 o'clock, we will be live with our friends at the Lumberjacks. We'll be talking with not only guys from last year, but we're going to have some new guys on as well, so we'll be chatting it up. We will be up in St. Cloud, or is it in Sauk Rapids?
Sauk Rapids. Just literally right over the river.
Right over
St. Cloud in St. Cloud. Yeah,
potato, right?
It's the same thing.
Yeah. So we'll be up there raring to go at the Miller GMC, or Miller Buick GMC Arena.
There you go.
So we will get it rolling on Saturday. So tune in. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yes, sir.
Then, our pick'em, we do have a winner for this week. And that is being a fellow zoner in one C-Money. Seymour gets the winter cap. He got the win. Very impressed. And perfect time for Seymour to put that hat on during this cold season. It's coming up. It's going to be a little chilly out there, so make sure that you stay warm. And if you're like, you know what, I'll just pay for it. Not a big deal. We got you covered.
Yeah, we got them.
We got all the merch. We got these hats. We've got the winter caps. We got the sweatpants, the whole deal. So if you would like some, let us know. With that being said, Voldy, yes, we got Lynx to talk about. They were absolutely, positively robbed of a finals championship. We will get into that, and then we're going to talk about those Minnesota Vikings. They so close. It was so close. And unfortunately, they were unable to beat the Detroit Lions. But we'll talk a little bit about that. And then after, we decided, since it is Vikings-Rams tomorrow, we decided to get on our favorite Rams fan, that being Jason Schmitz. Yes. Right after Hot Take, we're talking Vikes-Rams. So he'll talk about his Rams so far this season, talk about all the rumors that's been surrounding the Los Angeles Rams with Cooperkupp, with Matthew Stafford. So we have a lot to talk about, and we had a great time having Jason on. So we will play that after Hot Take. And then, ARA, there's just a plethora of NFL stories, so it's very NFL-centric. But the Minnesota Timberwolves could be selling. A-Rod and Lori have the money. Talk about that. Can't wait for that. And Rudy Gobert is signing an extension, $110 million. Wow. We'll talk about that. Happened last night. World Series, Dodgers, Yankees. We'll give our picks on that. Yeah. I'm with you. Tua apparently is ready to roll for Sunday after his concussion, not wearing a guarding cap. I think that is ridiculous, but we'll move on from that. But the Chiefs acquired D-Hop, so he is a Kansas City Chief. A lot of talk about that, and now here we are. So Shield shoutouts tonight as well. And, then we'll wrap up 212, and then we will have our Granite City Lumberjack special, second annual. So, Voldy, let's get it going. We've got a lot to talk about with Hot Take and then talking with Jason. So, let's get it going with some Tater Tot. Ooh, it's hot. Ooh, Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it is time for some Tater Tot Hot Take. Man, these hot takes are hot tonight. They're absolutely positively hot. We start off with the Minnesotalynx, and just to preface this whole thing, they were absolutely positively robbed by the WNBA. I watched most of the game. It was a game where, the Lynx very well could have won and everything along those lines. But at the same time, there were a lot of issues with that game. There have been a lot of things that have come out about that game and the referee, the awful officiating. Not only that, but the WNBA commissioner wearing the New York skyline on her dress or something like that. What the hell is that?
Not a fan of that.
Not a fan of that. And we'll go through the list of it. Voldy, I know you didn't get a chance to check out the game, but you definitely saw the social media backlash that it was. So I'm going to start with you first, and the zoners, please chime in. Let us know what you think too. But what are your thoughts on this whole fiasco surrounding our Minnesota Lynx?
I mean, first shout out to Lynx coach Cherylreeve, just being as blunt as you can be, as a gunshot to the head, saying that they were robbed, as they had the championship stolen from them, saying that officiating was not up to par and that they had that title stolen away from them. Kudos to her. You get a lot of coaches that kind of dance around that kind of subject and saying, we should have made a few more plays. Sure, she said that, but she was straightforward and honest in saying we were robbed. The phantom fouls, just getting last-second chances to Liberty, and the fact that it took a super team 3 years to win a championship. Well, on the other side, 3 years ago, the Lynx were probably one of the worst teams in the NBA. If they weren't, they were a top selection in the lottery to bring a player like napheesacollier to Minnesota, and look, in that short amount of time, didn't need to sign any big names or any superstars to come here. They've just done it with homegrown talent, made it all the way to the finals this year in a year where nobody expected the Lynx outside of Minnesota to make it to the WNBA finals. We all thought it was going to be Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces. Well, the Aces, they fell flat, and the Lynx came through and they were robbed. I mean, this is classic sports being rigged against Minnesota. The fact that they've had not one, but now 2 championships from New York and the WNBA stolen from them is sadly one of the great injustices that we'll see. And the fact that we are talking about how the Lynx have been stolen and another title from them is just a sad realization of the world that we live in.
Well, Voldy, there is a lot of things to unwrap here, and I'm glad you shouted out Cherylreeve.
Go.
She basically, yes, absolutely, and I want to. I'll get into her rant, but I want to give a list of the things that happened. The one that mostly people are talking about is the foul that occurred with Smith and Stewart, and that we'll get to in a second. But it was what was before that foul that I find absolutely positively egregious. There is video, and it's as clear as M&F day that Breanna Stewart, when she got the inbound, I think there was maybe 10 seconds, 9 seconds, and again, I'm spitballing, but this is kind of what I'm talking about. Maybe you can see this, but this, if that's not a travel, 1, 2, 3. If that's not a travel, I don't know what 15. Is.
Come on.
I don't know what is. Where are the referees? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. This has to be a travesty. Now, they should have called the travel, Lynx, Lynx ball, and who knows what happens. But that call specifically, if they would have gotten the ball back, what has to happen? They probably have to foul because there's only like 9 seconds left or whatever it was. And not only that, but the foul. She has her hands up like this. It's straight up. And then she moves it forward and just maybe glosses. I think that's the best word to describe it. Glosses her hand. And then all of a sudden, foul, How? Explain this to me. This is absolutely positively absurd.
Ridiculous.
And this is why this was just the beginning, because I'm like, they absolutely got screwed. Yeah. I'm looking up online and people are like, are beside themselves because then not only that, the travel, the foul, I mentioned it earlier with the WNBA commissioner wearing a dress of the NYC skyline.
Yeah. What?
Is that not favoritism or what?
I was going to say, not to play favorites or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and then how can you think, okay, I'm going to wear this dress thing, and whatnot. Oh, it's the NYC skyline. You're just going to wear that and just express, I had no idea that's what I was going to wear. Oh, please. What a bunch of bogus BS that's sitting right there. Now, there was a tweet that they had of the WNBA. The WNBA said in this tweet, and I will just show it, thank you to Michael Russo, out of all people. Michael Russo, hockey guy. Thank you, Michael Russo. This is what it says. The trophy is right where it belongs for the 2024 WNBA champs, the New York Liberty. And what does Russo say? And what has been proven? Oh, well, it's kind of, wow, it's really not going to. WNBA deleted this tweet. Ha!
My man.
There's more, Voldy. I can't believe there's more.
Come on,
so,
let's go.
After that, Voldy, 0 free throw attempts in the OT and fourth quarter for napheesacollier. She was getting hacked under the rim, everything like that, and Jonquel Jones or whatever just apparently can just shove people over and, have it not be a foul. Right.
The finals MVP.
And finals MVP. So, yeah, I guess you could just follow whatever. Sabrinaionescu. And again, I don't have any beef with her. I don't really have that much beef with her. But she was 1 of 19. 1 of 19. Yeah. Breanna Stewart was like 4 of whatever, And now let's wrap this up with all the conspiracy theories and whatnot. The last thing is the free throw attempts. 25-8 free throw attempt advantage for the Liberty. I'm not one for conspiracies. Voldy, I am not one for conspiracies. Besides The only other conspiracy, you know this, I know this, NFC Championship Game 2009. Absolute sham. And this is up there. I'm not saying it's at the level of that because, let's be honest, that was egregious in itself. This comes down to one thing and one thing only. That the WNBA screwed over the Minnesota Lynx. Now, you can say, well, the Lynx had their chances, they were missing shots, and, Williams was terrible, and blah. Yeah, they did play bad. But when it comes down to, making sure that you get your calls right and not missing anything towards the end, and then going to the review, because cherylreeve, after that, reviewed the whole play and said that's not a foul, and they said it was marginal contact or something. Like, she explained it like perfectly, and it says this is the rule, this is what the WNBA has, and they said no, it's a foul.
No,
get the hell out of here. This is ridiculous. So
we need to get Zappa on here to give us his opinion.
I'm glad you brought that up.
His fine man rocket looking ass on this show here. That beautiful looking man he is.
He that's why he's a model. But Voldy, I did message Zappa, and I said this was an absolute sham. And he told me, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me right now, but he said, I'm heartbroken, and he agreed it was a sham. Everybody in the state knows it. Everybody. I have family members, my own sister, who's watched WNBA basketball for a while, and big fan of the Lynx. And, this was like 09 for me. For her, this was kind of like 09 for her and everything like that. Just a sham. So one last thing to throw out there, and then I want to get to what Cheryl said, because I think we might have to quote this, or actually get a soundbite of this, I should say. The WNBA, this is an article, October 18th, will lose $40 million this season, and its NBA investors are growing impatient. So what do? They say, well, if we're losing money, how can we get that up? Well, if the Lynx win, we won't make a lot of money and everything like that. Oh, big market team, a team that hasn't won it before. Ooh. Let's go with the New York Liberty. Oh, Whatever happened to who's the better team?
Big names, big market.
Who would ever think that this would happen not only to the Lynx, but all Minnesota teams? It's like, we're cursed. We're absolutely cursed, and it's a sham, man. It really is, and I'm tired of this crap, man. It's just not fair.
Tired of it.
So
sick of it.
Let's get to Miss cherylreeve here, and what she said, and it's there's no question that she was absolutely right. She says we know we could have done some things right, but you shouldn't have to overcome to that extent, meaning the foul, the travel, everything else. And I'm going to quote her and, say it because this is a PG-13 show. This shit ain't that hard. Officiating is not that hard. Nope. And she goes, this is probably one of my favorite things from this whole thing. She goes, it's going to say, headline's going to say Reeves cries foul in the headlines and everything like that. And she says, bring it on. She's like, bring it on. I don't care. I got my proof right here. And she says, because that shit was stolen from us. And it was. So let's throw out some claps for cherylreeve.
Big time.
She is the GOAT.
That's my coach.
Yes.
That's my coach right there.
And I will never... Alana Smith, you have nothing to be ashamed about it, especially you fought through an injury that with a back. With your back being... it's very painful. She was in a lot of pain. And she did everything that she was supposed to do, and then called the contact. And this is what Reeve said, and she said marginal for the foul, marginal at best, is what she said. And she's like, this, she says this sucks, and there was faulty officiating in 2016 WNBA finals with the Los Angeles Sparks, I believe, and Candace Parker.
Yeah.
So this isn't anything new, but
ridiculous.
Why? I have to say, before we move on to Vikings here, no one's going to go to like the Supreme Court or government to say, we got to play the last few seconds of this game. No one's going to say that, because you know what? They're not going to do a damn thing about it. But the one thing that the WNBA cannot hide from now is that there is proof of it being a sham. And they will never live this down, I think. No. And I think this is going to carry on into the next season. And, they're going to say, well, the Lynx had their chances to win and this and that. But in all reality, you can't say jack shit about it, because now everyone knows what happened. Everyone knows that this was a complete sham, and this is why I think, just my opinion here, there should be an asterisk on that championship for that team. I think it's ridiculous that they were able to, to get this, not get this right, and they have to change. I think Cherylreeve said there has to be a third party to say, listen, there's not enough for a foul here. Relay that to the officials and go from there. I totally agree with her on that. And the WNBA and the Liberty in general, a lot of those players and probably the organization, even that coach who blatantly said to start flopping, and her mic'd up thing. How? It's insane to me. It really is. So the WNBA will never live this down, and they should be ashamed of themselves. And don't be surprised, Voldy. Next time we do top 10 and famous list, you know who's going to be on that list.
Yep.
You know who's going to be on that list. So we feel your pain, Lynx, Cherylreeve. Zappa, we'll probably get him on here soon and chat more about this. But the Lynx were robbed. Put the asterisk near the New York Liberty, whatever.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to a team that, this was a game where it's like, oh, the Vikings got robbed. This isn't a game where the Vikings got robbed and this and that and this that.
Right.
Two good teams went at it, and unfortunately the Vikings lost on a last second field goal. The Vikings lose 31-29 to the Detroit Lions. A lot of storylines heading into this game. Vikings undefeated streak. You got, how are the Vikings going to respond? They played a couple bad quarters in London and then in Green Bay. And how is Darnold going to, live up to the expectation? Is he going to, bounce back? And to be honest, they played really well. That first quarter, you're up 10-0. Things are going well. But then Jahmyr Gibbs happens, and then he's scoring touchdowns. Oh, and then Jared Goff, who finished 22 of 25, 280 and 2 touchdowns. How? It's insane.
It's crazy.
And I'm not saying, and again, I'm not bashing him by any means. That's impressive.
No.
That's impressive. I give credit to what's due. And Jahmyr Gibbs, 15, 116, 2 tutties. Not bad. So Vikings down 21-10. The first drive, the Vikings get the ball. They go down and score with Justin Jefferson. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And by the way, I want to say to Lions fans, you did see the back of that jersey a lot.
You did.
81 yards is a lot of yards still. And 7 receptions. And a touchdown mossing Robertson or whatever the hell that guy's name is. So, listen, you can't be like, oh, some guy said like this aged well. Yeah, because I was right. He owns you guys when it comes to Vikings Lions. It doesn't matter if the Vikings win or lose. He's going to get his yards. He's going to get his touchdowns. Mm-hmm. So Vikings. So after that, Vikings come back. The scoop and score by Ivan Pace Jr., Josh Metellus on the forced fumble. Ooh, that was awesome, man.
That was nice.
I was freaking out.
Yeah.
So Voldy, before we move on and everything like that, and get to Jason, what are your thoughts on the Vikings loss here, and what are some of your takeaways? And we asked this to the zoners as well, so feel free to let us know.
The further this game went along, I said this is as quality of a Lions-Vikings game as we've seen probably this century, because for the longest time it's been, okay, the Vikings on paper are the better team. The Lions are battling for just to stay, above 500. And, somehow the Lions always find a way to maybe win one at the end or in overtime, just to steal one against the Vikings. And the Vikings are the one that are supposed to be competing for the division title. This was as much of a playoff feel of a game as it probably will be. Could very well be setting up for the third go-around of this matchup, too. I was not upset by this loss. Any other game, usually I'd be kind of upset, be like, kind of ruin the rest of my day. This one, I'm just like, we had our chances. We missed. That last drive they had there, couldn't get the first down with 4 minutes to go, gave them the ball right back, and guess what they did? They marched right down the field, had really good offensive plays set up. Jahmyr Gibbs with a couple of nice runs there. Thanks for the, 2 touchdowns and, the great turnout on fantasy. Didn't really need it, but yes, thank you, I guess, for Jahmyr Gibbs on my fantasy team. But the Vikings were in it up until the end. I mean, they just couldn't execute at the very last point. Defense did get obviously that scoop and score from Ivan Pace. That was great. Should have had a few more opportunities with a couple more sacks. I mean, Jonathan Grenard just missed out on a strip sack. And just when you thought that, the Vikings were starting to get into the head a little bit more of Jared Goff, especially after that first quarter, he just quietly only has 3 incompletions, and he's got more touchdowns than incompletions in this last 4-game stretch. I think he's got like 18 touchdowns to 16 incompletions. And that is just completely absurd given the fact that, he's not like he's checking the ball down, every time for a quick, easy completion. He's stretching the ball. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown had 100 yards on 8 catches and a touchdown. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a great game. I'm more than comfortable saying about all of that. It was just a complete game for both teams. It just so happened the Lions were the one that had the ball at the end to win. They made it happen. The Vikings, unfortunately came up on the short end when the Vikings needed it most. I'm not completely mortified by it, but the fact that now the national media is completely slandering anything the Vikings have done, and they've just lost all credibility, not even in the same conversation, obviously, as, Kansas City, the Lions as well. They lose one game, they're basically written off for the rest of the season. That kind of pisses me off more than anything, because, they're still a good team. It just so happens they have their first loss. The Lions have a loss. No one's talking about the fact that, they're garbage or anything. It just so happens that their quarterback is very well in the running for an MVP, along with Sam Darnold on top of it, too.
Let's talk about Sam Darnold here in this game. First quarter, brilliant. Dan Campbell, that first drive, decides to go for it, do a fake punt on 4th and 7. Mm-hmm. Come on, we know what you want to do, Dan. You're like, I believe in my guys and everything like that. And he goes and tries to go. C.J. Ham, our guy, C.J. Ham goes and stops him. And then the Vikings, I think maybe 2 plays later or something, Aaron Jones to the house for a tutty. And then did the bank vault, by the way, too.
He did.
He looked good. Hamstring sounds good. He was not on the injury report today, so he's good to go. Good. So very good for news for Aaron Jones. Now, you look at that. You look at what Sam Darnold did in the second quarter. Very stagnant. The Vikings guys struggled to get open a little bit. A lot of penalties that shouldn't have happened. That was very frustrating to watch, nonetheless. But they have to do a better job at cleaning that up because again, it's self-inflicted, and KOC said it in his press conference too about how this was all self-inflicted with these penalties. And there's a lot to be talked about with that, but lining up the right way and things like that. Addison had a couple of those where he should have figured that out. And then illegal formation penalty on Christian Darrisaw after he tried to hustle the line so that we could give Will Reichert a chance to Will the Thrill to be like the break a record or something. I think if he had the chance, Voldy. I'm just saying. I know, but
look, if it was going to be 68, I definitely would have sent him out there. But for 73, I mean, even in Justin Tucker's
would it have been 73? I don't.
It would have been 73. I think that's what they were saying.
Yeah.
But since it was originally where it was going to be like 68. But since they had to back up the 5 yards, it would have been 73. I'm like, that's a little too far.
Yeah, and Darnold had some misses. He threw that interception. Brian Branch made a really good play on it, to be honest with you. Darnold didn't see it coming, but he also had Aaron Jones. Didn't seem he went through his progressions wide open. Yeah. And even on the 2-point conversion, too, he had Addison for a second there, but I think he was too late to get to him. He didn't really go through his progressions as much, but the rush was coming out. We'll get into that at another time. But, again, it's self-inflicted. He had a couple misfires, too. He missed Jefferson, Addison on that one, too. But, again, I walk away from this game, and props to the Lions, man. I honestly think we could end up playing them in the NFC Championship game. I give the Lions credit for coming in and not being afraid of what we've done, and with Coach Flo and what we've been able to do. Maybe there are a lot of missed holding calls. Just saying. I'm just saying there was. But again, they deserved to win the game. They got the win. And coming away from this, I wish we would have won this because then it would solidify, okay, the Vikings have a lead here in the NFC North with the schedule that they have these next few weeks. So, it's a bummer. It really is a bummer. But at the same time, Voldy, the Vikings have a chance to redeem themselves tomorrow against the Los Angeles Rams. So they're looking to bounce back, and we decided, and you guys know this as well, that'll do it for Tater Tot Hot Take this week. Great segment, and now we're moving on to Rams and Vikings. We got the chance to talk to my cousin Jason, Los Angeles Rams fan, Jason Schmitz. We had a blast talking with him yesterday, how the Rams were doing, Vikings, all the storylines coming into this game tomorrow on Prime. Make sure you have your Prime subscription, by the way, Vikings fans and Rams fans, whoever. Well, there's not a whole lot of them, as A-Train said on the Facebook. But we give credit where credit's due to Jason. He's been a fan since the St. Louis days, so give him credit for that. We got the chance to talk to Jason a little bit, and we talked about some things from our previous appearance as well. So you guys sit back and enjoy our talk with Jason. We are back on MinneZona Sports Live. We were just talking about the Vikings and the Lions, but there is a Thursday night game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Rams, and we would be remiss if we didn't have our Rams fan, Jason Schmitz, on the show. So welcome back, Jace. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Thanks for having me back. I thought it's absolutely insane that the Rams are 2-4. and looking like their season's over. And then the Vikings are 5-1 and tied for first in the NFC North. That's wild. That is wild.
It is. And, we didn't have a lot of faith. And the thing is, we did the NFC North preview. Yeah. And to be honest, we all thought, middle of the road. Maybe they would make a shot at the playoffs. No, they're 5-1. I mean, it's insane to me to even think. Who would have thunk that the Vikings would be that? And the Rams.
Give you guys credit. Yeah. Absolutely
crazy.
Your guy Kirk's gone. He's gone.
Thank goodness. And you guys are better off without him. See, 5-1 division lead.
This is true.
The thing is with that contract, you don't have to worry about the contract. You don't have to worry about. We added some Van Ginkel, Grenard. Guys on the defense are looking really good. Sam Darnold, out of all the guys, Darnold's kicking us off. So not too shabby from that end. But we'll get into Vikings, Rams in a second. I just kind of want your thoughts on your Rams so far this season. I mean, what have you liked? What have you not liked? And we've been, messaging back and forth a lot too. So it's nothing new with us. But what have you liked about your Rams so far, Jason?
Well, there isn't much, to be quite honest with you. It's been quite a disappointing year. I mean, it started off weird, where they traded away Ernest Jones, our star linebacker, to the Titans for a bag of peanuts, essentially. So it did not start well. And then we got some training camp news with Puka being hurt and kind of banged up. We didn't get off on the right foot. I had some hope with that Detroit game. They looked really good, but ever since it's kind of fallen apart. The wheels have come off. Our entire team is hurt. Stafford is doing Stafford things, and in critical moments, he's throwing interceptions that should have never happened for, a 16, 17-year guy, I believe?
Yeah, something like that.
The good, I think the good that I can bring out of it is the team is young. And the young players that they have, Blake Corum, Jordan Whittington, they look pretty good. I mean, you don't see Corum much, but the stuff that you do see, he's doing pretty good. Yeah. Very, very young defense with Jared Verse. He's looking really good, along with, Byron Young. So I think in the future, things can be all right, but I'm afraid we're probably going in the rebuild kind of direction right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially with all these rumors, and Voldy, you and I were just talking about this before the show. All these rumors about Matthew Stafford to the Vikings and Darnold to the Rams and everything. And then hearing about Cooperkupp, we'll get into that in a second. But, what do you make of all these rumors with Stafford being traded to Minnesota? What the hell?
I mean, that's completely off the wall, honestly. Just, I understand that the Rams are in a situation where they are quite possibly in a rebuild, but wouldn't you want to have someone like Matthew Stafford? Yes, he's been there for a few years. Obviously, he's in the back end of his career, but even with the mistakes he's made, he's still been able enough to be competitive with this Rams squad that, has been banged up. And in an ultra competitive NFC West, you would want to have at least something to go off of instead of, just trading out the farm and doing what they did to win that Super Bowl and just F them picks and F them players and just go out and start fresh all over again. I mean, I certainly immediate face value. I am kind of repulsed by the idea because Vikings are 5-1 with Sam Darnold, who is having a career resurgence. But at the same time, a guy that knows how to carve up the NFC North in Matthew Stafford would be a nice piece to have. But right now, I'd rather stick with Sam Darnold for what I've got. So I am completely against the trade, and I'm sure Jason is too.
Yeah, I mean, Stafford is the glue that holds this team together at this point. Mm-hmm. He lost Aaron Donald this season, and that is huge. It clearly shows with the defense performing so poorly as it has. But, I mean, it would be wild to see, like I said, if we're going to this rebuild direction, I mean, what is this going to look like? Stafford's probably not going to be on the team anyway. So if you can develop that and turn it into draft picks for future, quarterback position, running back position, wide receivers, whatever, I don't know. It's tough. It would be a tough one. Personally, I want him to stay on the team at least a couple more years. That way, if you do draft a quarterback, you can kind of develop him under Stafford and then let him loose at that point. But yeah, the rumors are tough. I don't like any of the rumors that are going on right now. Cooper Kupp's kind of my boy, so it's going to be tough to see if he leaves.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was it 2016, 2017 when he was drafted by the Rams? And people are saying that was still the draft, and it has proven to be so. And with his rumors, we'll get in that in a second. But I wanted to build off of what you guys were saying with Stafford coming to Minnesota and then Darnold going there. First of all, absurd. Like we can all agree on that because it doesn't make sense. B, the Vikings are at a point in time where they can either go out and get, and I'm not saying they will, but go out and get a Dexter Lawrence. Go out and get, not saying that they will, a Myles Garrett or like anything like that. They're going to try to make a splash instead of, well, we better, upgrade our quarterback situation with Matthew Stafford. Why? That makes no sense to me, and especially when you have the rapport that you have with Darnold and Justin Jefferson so far. You have T.J. Hawkinson coming back. Sam Darnold, if the Vikings got blown out by the Lions on Sunday, then I mean maybe you would consider something, but I don't see it because Sam Darnold was down 21-10. The Vikings came back. Let's go to Cooperkupp. I know he's your boy, and it seems very likely they are willing to trade him. Now he is 31 years old? Is that
31,
right?
31, 32. He's on the north side of 30 regardless. Yep.
Not saying that he's going to be I mean, the dude is getting open like no other, even, I mean, when he's healthy, he's amazing. And if you're the Rams and you're looking for that rebuild mode, Jace, I mean, are you thinking like, okay, we might have to give him up, but we got Nakua. Nakua has been killing it, get him back from injury and everything. Are you in favor of the Rams possibly trading Cooperkupp?
If it's the best thing that my team can do at this point, then yes. I mean, is it possible that they can turn things around and perhaps make a stab at the wild card? Yeah, sure. But they're not going to go anywhere in the playoffs, just how this team is right now. So I guess looking forward to the future, yeah, I mean, it stinks. It's like almost like losing Justin Jefferson for you guys to me. But if he can go on a contender, let's say the Chiefs, who have like no wide receivers right now, I think it'd be good for both him and, our team, clear some cap space, get a, first, second, perhaps even a second, third, whatever it may be. It's more draft capital in the long run and better picks for us too.
Be honest. So, Shield, what do you got? Do you think the Rams should trade Cooperkupp?
I mean, at this point right now, you definitely have to take in consideration we are about a week and a half away from the trade deadline. After this game, I would definitely not be opposed to see how everything plays out. If, it's a nail biter that comes down to the end against the Vikings, I think that the Rams will stay pat. If they get blown out of the yard and taken out to the woodshed by the Vikings, fingers crossed, then I think now you start looking at, okay, we got to sell the farm. We got to, pick up shop, and we got to go somewhere else. And I think right now at this point, I don't think it's conceivable, but you definitely need to put them out there. And you got to see what teams are willing to give up for Cooperkupp. I mean, definitely draft capital is a big thing. We already know their situation with first round stuff. I definitely know that Cooper is worth at least one first round pick, and if not a couple of twos for sure to throw in there, maybe a player or so in that mix. But I think it's really going to be more about draft capital for the Rams is what they're looking at. I think very well it could happen. It has to be the right offer. It's not, the Rams are going to take the first offer they get and, send Cooperkupp, out of town or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. I think Thursday is going to be the kind of, like you said, if they get blown out, even if it's a loss at that point, you're looking at 2-5. That's going to be a hard climb. So at that point, it's like, let's start selling off the farm and see what we can get for them.
I think that's a good idea too. I mean, if they get thumped, but here's something I want to throw at you, and whether you can say it's absurd. If not, no problem. If the Vikings made a run at Cooperkupp, I mean, would that be crazy? I mean, the thing is, the Vikings don't have a lot of draft capital for this upcoming draft, but they do have a first right now, but for future picks and everything like that. Would it shock you if Cooperkupp became a Minnesota Viking, Jason?
I think it wouldn't be a bad idea for both of us, and it'd probably be my first ever Vikings jersey that I would go out and buy. That would be pretty cool. So, no, I think, I mean, that would be an unstoppable offense. You got Aaron Jones, you got Justin Jefferson, Addison, and then Cooperkupp on top of that with Hawkinson coming back, with paired up with your defense, how good they're playing.
Yes, sir.
You guys are contenders. I mean, you might be now, but I mean, that sets you way over the edge on anything else in the NFC right now.
Yeah, it's not a bad. Just a thought. And again, this is. I mean, a lot of people are saying that, the D tackle, they're going to go starting corner, things like that for Vikings' sake. So, after all that being said, let's just pretend, and obviously we're going to have this this is going to be, since technically we're recording this now, it'll be Wednesday tomorrow. Let's just say that Matthew Stafford, Cooperkupp don't get traded. It sounds like Kupp's going to play. And that's good. That helps them. But let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this game. The Vikings right now, they lose to Detroit. We talked about it earlier. We'll talk about it earlier in the show. And they're coming off a lot. I'd say heartbreaking is kind of much, but I mean it's close. But the Rams come off a win against the Las Vegas Raiders, which the Raiders are the Raiders, right? But so far the Rams they're sitting at 2-4. Thursday night football. Jason, do you give your team a chance here? Do you think that they can upset the Vikings here on Thursday? What do you got?
I always give them a chance. Absolutely. I was able to watch some of the Raiders Rams game last Sunday. It was an ugly win. Like, the offense just was not producing. I mean, obviously there wasn't Kupp, there wasn't Nakua, etc. But man, that team, it was an ugly win. It was a win, but it was certainly ugly. Vikings Rams, I just don't like the matchups. Our defense is not exactly top notch in our corner department. Addison, Jefferson, come on now. And just as a whole, I mean, you guys have a lot of turnovers. Matt Stafford throws a lot of turnovers. It's going to be an uphill battle. I think if they can get momentum early, that might set us up for success later in the game, but it's got to be throughout the game. They almost have to play perfect, I think, at that point to beat them.
Yeah, and I think I almost, and again, Darnold has, he's thrown some, he still has the turnover bug too. Yep. I mean, that's evident, but the one thing I'm worried about, and I'll talk about this maybe further down here, but Jared Verse, very good defensive end that has from Florida State, rookie. The guy's a beast. The offensive line for Minnesota was good against Detroit for the most part. Ed Ingram, that's a whole different story. Voldy and I know. But the good news is that the line's healthy. Dalton Reisner could be ready to go. T.J. Hawkinson, I think, is going to play. And this is coming from, and again, by this time tomorrow, he could probably already be in. So, but Voldy, looking at this game, what are you expecting from the Vikings? I mean, do you expect them to come out absolutely firing just to not have that lull of the weight of that loss against the Lions? What do you think?
Looking, of course, we've already talked about how the Lions game was kind of like one of those, like, it's a loss, but it's not as heartbreaking of a loss as we thought it was going to be. It's like, okay, we had a chance. We didn't come up. All right, we're on to, the Rams here. I think just with it being a short week, it's just going to be a quick turnaround. I think the Vikings really do need to get off to a fast start. Just really start, clicking, moving the ball down the field. And that's one thing I think matchup-wise is going to play to the favor of the Vikings. Stretching the ball down the field. We already know that the run game is going to be maybe just a little bit hampered. I know Aaron Jones still battling the hamstring a little bit. If they can get the passing game going, if Hawkinson is 100% ready to go, we'll get him involved early and often because you want to get him into a rhythm. That'll open up matchups, of course, off those checkdowns and obviously get him stretching the field a little bit more. Justin Jefferson matching up against those corners for the Rams, opening plays for Addison too. Maybe Jalen Naylor sneaks in another touchdown this week. There's a lot of things that I like to see. I think the Vikings really have to put an emphasis on getting that offense going because we've seen the last couple of weeks, they get off to a fast start, but then when it comes down to crunch time, they really stall out from like mid-third quarter up until the end when they really need to make a play. They've had to, but last week, unfortunately, just wasn't enough. I think they just need to move the ball quickly, efficiently, and sadly get up as quick as possible and let the defense take control from there.
And with Jones played really well for a guy coming off that injury from playing the Jets. And the main thing, right, the weak point of the Minnesota Vikings offense right now is Ed Ingram and maybe a little Bradbury too. But the main thing is keeping a clean pocket. I'm not worried about the edges. Maybe a little bit if they do some stunts with Verse, if he gets into that interior. But the main thing is for the Vikings is to not get into a rut quickly. And the Rams could easily go up 10-0, and then all of a sudden now you're playing catch up. Now you have to, match with what they're going on offense. We didn't even mention Kyron Williams. The dude has scored a touchdown in how many games? He's on a big touchdown streak, if I'm not mistaken.
8 or 9 games in a row, I believe.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, he's a heck of a player too. I mean, you got to stop the run. The Vikings struggled to stop the run against the Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs went off, man, and it was due to guys. Well, A, bad tackling. B, it was uncharacteristic. I mean, I'm sure McVay's looked at the tape too. So, the Vikings got to cause some turnovers. And, Jace, like you said, Matthew Stafford, like we've said, there are times where Matthew Stafford is like, man, that was brilliant. He did a nice throw. Then all of a sudden he just throws one just because. And it's like, dude, what the hell are you doing?
It's very ill-timed, too. It's usually like, oh, we're about to score, and he throws a pick. Oh, okay, cool.
What are you aiming at?
What are you doing? So, with that being said, we kind of previewed it and everything. So, right now, we got to make some predictions. So, Jason, we'll start with you since you are our guest tonight. What is your score prediction, and do you think your Rams are going to win, or do you have anything else to add with that as well? Are they trading Kupp? They're trading Stafford if they lose? What do you got?
Well, as far as the prediction, it is going to be closer than I think both of you anticipate. Sure. I am going to go 28-24. Nice. Vikings. I just think, like I said, given everything that our teams are going through, you guys are going up, we're not so much. It's going to be a lot to handle. I think it'll be a good game nonetheless. I think the Rams do have a lot to play for, at least at this particular moment, and that's going to show. But I think your defense and offense are just going to overpower us as a team as well. So 28-24 Vikings. As for the trades, I think it depends on the game. If they lose and we're 2-5, unfortunately, I think it's likely at that point that something would probably be done after that game, that weekend, with the trade deadline looming. Kills me to say it, but unfortunately it is what it is.
Yep. Well, we'll play this back, and if they win, we might all be wrong. So, Shield, what do you got?
Looking at some of the betting odds, if you will, the Vikings, as of right now, are a 2.5 point favorite, total at 48 points. I could very well see we're going to maybe slightly hammer that over a little bit. We all know Thursday night games, they are more miss than hit. People notoriously say that the Thursday night games are stinkers. They just straight up just not good football. And this one could very well be in the concern of maybe blowout implications. But as Jason did bring up as well, it could be a lot closer than what we've seen. Vikings traveling West Coast, short week, coming off a loss, but I still think the Vikings do just about enough to get the game done. I say 33-24 Vikings.
It's not bad. I mean,
Hammer the over.
Hammer the over. Hammer the over. So this is, and again, I guess it's kind of homerish since we are a Minnesota show and everything like that. So, but what I will say is that it's not going to be as easy as we think.
Yes.
I think with Cooperkupp coming back, I think that's going to throw a wrench into some things defensively that I'm sure they want to do. Now, you have Gilmore, you have Byron Murphy, you have D-backs back there like Harry, like Bynum, who didn't necessarily play well this past Sunday. So I think this is going to come down to the Vikings have to stop Kyren Williams. That will close off anything that they want to do offensively, whereas they, throwing it over to Kupp or Tutu Atwell. Parkinson has actually been pretty good tight end as well. Tyler Johnson, former Gopher. That's right.
Super Bowl champion Tyler Johnson. You uncultured swine, you.
Well, we got to throw it out there,
Exactly.
We got to. So this is what I'm gonna do, because I think Aaron Jones has been on fire. And I think the Vikings are going to utilize him a lot. They're going to run the ball a little bit more than they usually have, because I think Jones will fight for every yard. He's quick. He's finding the cutback lanes and everything like that. So I'm going to go, gentlemen, 31-24 Vikings. Right. And I gotta give some credit, because again, these two coaches know each other. They know
too well.
Exactly, too well. And they know what each, wants to do. So I think that's kind of the main thing about this whole thing with the Vikings and the Rams. We will see on Thursday. Jason, I love the jersey. We absolutely adore the hat. So claps out to you.
Can we confirm that is a pukanacua, not a Baker Mayfield number 17?
It is.
It's
Nakua.
Okay,
I'll
double
say
checking.
Yeah,
just double checking.
Yeah, the hoodie might be blocking it, but I believe him. He's my cousin. I believe my cousin here. So. Jason, we appreciate you coming on, and we'll see what happens. We'll be talking, and you enjoy your vacations. Yes, we hope he enjoyed his vacation. We loved having Jason on yesterday doing that segment. The thing is we hate to do this, but there's going to be a beatdown tomorrow, and I hope that they're ready for it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people anticipate, and
for sure.
But I could be absolutely wrong, and all of a sudden Darnold's throwing lasers left and right and whatnot. So, but it should be a fun game tomorrow. Can't wait to talk more about it next week and everything, and maybe even during our special. So. On Saturday. All right, that'll do it for that interview segment with Jason. We got a lot of air raids to get through. We've got A-Rod, Lori. They have the money to buy the Wolves. Will Glenn let them do it? We will see. Rudygobert, he agrees to a 3-year extension, $110 million. Talk about that. World Series, Dodgers, Yankees. And then Tua, set to return on Sunday. That'll be interesting. And then Chiefs acquire D-Hop. Well, does that make them a Super Bowl contender? We shall see. We will debate that as well. So let's get it going with some absurd or Approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we said to the world of the NBA, which actually they opened up their season last night, the Minnesota Timberwolves and minority owners, Mark Lore and Alex Rodriguez. They have money. They have a lot of it. They have $940 million ready to go in a bank account to send immediately to majority owner Glenn Taylor in the hopes for outright control of the Minnesota Timberwolves if they receive approval from Glenn Taylor. Of course, this coming the tails off of a season where the Timberwolves did reach the Western Conference Finals with a resurgence in the resurgence of the Timberwolves and the Minnesota Lynx. Obviously, their season controversially finished with a loss in the WNBA Finals. Now reports are coming out that Glenn Taylor doesn't want to sell the team anymore. Now, Lore and Rodriguez agreed more than 3 years ago to buy the Timberwolves for the $1.5 billion price tag, and that was halted, that sale by Taylor, because he said that they missed the deadline for final payment. Now, arbitration has taken place. They've gone to court. An extension was granted. $940 million is sitting in a bank account. They just need to get the next less than $600 million, I think, to the likes of Glenn Taylor, so that way they can have control of the team outright. Now, billionaire businessman and former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg also reached an agreement to join the ownership group with Lore and Rodriguez over the summer. So maybe that last $600+ million can be added on top of it. But is it absurd or approved with now $940 million just sitting there waiting to be transferred? Will this deal be resolved by the end of the calendar year? I'm not talking by the end of the season. By the end of the calendar year, will we see A-Rod and Mark Lore in full control of the Minnesota Timberwolves?
You would hope. Glenn, as we all know, Glenn likes to burn bridges, and this is a situation to where it could come down to, okay, we're willing to play ball now and everything. I know that Glenn was saying something along the lines of, I feel like I helped to build this team and things like. It's like, well, listen,
oh my
God, Glenn,
shut up.
They went and got Tim Conley, and you signed off on it. All you had to do was sign off on it, and you did, but you weren't involved in that process whatsoever. Nope. And he's been making moves, and obviously things have been working. And I want to say, too, let's forget what happened yesterday with the Wolves. They didn't play well.
No, they didn't.
It happens, whatever. But for Glenn, I think Glenn just was like, well, I can sell it for more later on and everything like that, which I kind of do understand. But at the same time, the guy has run this franchise into the ground. And then when he said he was selling it, there was a newfound hope. And once they got a taste of that, he decides, well, no, I was the one that put this together now. It's... No, you really didn't. I mean, it came down to you going and say, okay, A-Rod, Mark Lore, I'll let you, we'll give you 3 years and everything like that, learn how this works. And they went and got Conley. Conley is killing it right now, as so far. But to answer the question, I think it will. I think in Glenn's heart of hearts, and I know for sure that there have been conversations where it has been civil. They're kind of on the same page now a little bit, so maybe there is that hope of like, okay, like, all right, I believe you guys. If you have the money, let's, get this done. I believe Shams, the new ESPN guy, Shams Bomb now.
Oh, yeah.
Is
Dom Sharani. Love that guy.
Sharani. And he reported that, and now that they have the money, the question is Glenn going to want to go forward with this?
Right.
I hope he does, because there have been a lot of fans that don't like Glenn, and, one being us being that, but not as bad as the poll ads. We don't need to get into that.
Right.
But I think it will be. I think in Glenn's heart of hearts, he'll say, okay, they got the money. Let's move on with this. I can sell the team. I have a lot more money. I can die happy, So let's get this done. It's got my stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you think?
The fact that Laurie and Rodriguez have hung around this long, even with Glenn Taylor pulling out all the stops to make this not happen, I feel like Taylor's going to cave in at some point. What else do you really have to prove as owner of the Lynx and the Timberwolves? I mean, sure, you would like to see them to win at least one more championship while you are still in full outright control. I feel as if the Lynx would have won, I feel like this would have been the jumping off point for Glenn Taylor to, ride off into the sunset. But 40% of the team in control of Laurie and Rodriguez, that's still a good chunk. Now just trying to get that last majority control of those two squads as well is something that that ownership group is sticking around for. And we know that even bringing in Michael Bloomberg, who was, obviously former mayor of New York City and a billionaire businessman with those connections with Laurie and, Alex Rodriguez on top of that, that should hopefully bring a little bit more stability to this ownership group, at least from the business standpoint, because you get a guy like Michael Bloomberg, he's just not out here, making investments on horrible deals. But I feel that this could very well happen, hopefully before the end of the year, just because that, it needs to happen. And maybe by the end of the season at the very latest, but I think it's got my stamp of approval. I don't feel that Glenn Taylor has much fight left in him, but it wouldn't surprise me if he does, because he's just a stick in the mud and just continues to drag his feet in a lot of different areas. The longer this goes on, the longer we won't see KG's number retired and hanging from the rafters of the Target Center.
Yep, a lot to be said with that. That's for sure. The Minnesota Timberwolves deserve some of, and we have our guest joining Tate as well. So good to see Tate up and at 'em and whatnot. And so with the with this, I feel like it has to get done. Voldy, I agree with you. I think they're caving in, and it's just gonna. It's gonna happen, I feel like. So, all right, next one, Voldy and Tate.
Well, we stay in the world of the NBA and the Minnesota Timberwolves, as an agreement was reached just ahead or late last night with the Minnesota Timberwolves and Rudy Gobert reaching a 3-year, $110 million contract extension. Of course, with that taking place, as the season opener did open up with a unfortunate loss to the Los Angeles Lakers, the league leading 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, now locked up quite handsomely over the next 3 seasons and beyond at that point. But even with a player option that was declined ahead of the 2025-26 season, but that extension now comes through with, of course, that $110 million. Is it absurd or approved? In the next 3 seasons, will we see this deal be well worth it by the end of it being all said and done?
Now, I know for sure when we've had these conversations, especially with Cole Munson and Zappa, that we weren't huge fans of the deal or the trade and everything like that with Gobert. But Gobert's won a Defensive Player of the Year. People, are going to look to he's not as good. There's all this hate for Rudy, and, Draymond's one of those guys, and it's like, what did he ever do to you? And has he played bad? Sure, that first year wasn't good. But the year after that, he was very good. The question is, can he keep it up while they are able to try and go for a championship? And I'm literally saying that because when you have Anthony Edwards, you had Dante DiVincenzo. Randall is going to need a lot of work, but this, like we said, they've only played for a couple. Like, they only played once in the preseason, like all that starting five without Cat. So with it being said, I hope so. I think Gobert has a lot of traits that some other NBA players don't have, and that's shot blocking, defense. And don't talk to me about that whole Luka situation. It was a mismatch, like it was off a screen and everything like that. And there's a lot of people who are like, well, Anthony Davis should have won it last year. Someone else should. It's like, listen, who gives a crap? Like, he won it, he earned it, and he's a good player, man. He gets a lot of hate, and I don't understand it. I really don't understand it, and he works hard, man. And he calls BS when he sees it, and he did that to the referees, and as he should, with that whole situation. So I hope so. So I'm gonna give it my stamp of approval for right now. And if it doesn't work out, then it's on Conley. So we'll see how it goes here these next few years with that extension. So, all right, Voldy, what do you think?
Ultimately, the goal in this deal being worth is, are the Timberwolves going to win a championship? That's really the end goal of signing a deal like this. Given with Gobert coming into the Timberwolves franchise, you gave up a lot. You gave up some key players. You gave up some big draft picks that could bear fruit for the other side of that deal. And I feel as of right now, the return on investment beyond that first season, of course, winning another Defensive Player of the Year, deep run the playoffs, Western Conference Finals. That's what you wanted to see out of now, the second year with Gobert and squad. The trading away, a franchise talent in Karl Anthony Towns, that hurts a little bit. But now it solidifies and makes moves that, all right, here we are. We've got our big man in the middle. We've got Naz Reid going to be stepping up from that sixth man of the year into most likely a starting position, if not kind of bouncing back and forth early on, trying to find the right matchups and everything. Of course, acknowledge your tribal chief, Tate as well. Acknowledge your tribal chief. I feel that this deal will certainly be worth its merit for sure. Will they win a championship based off of what we saw last season? Could very well happen sooner than later. I feel that this group, even working in some of these new guys, of course, Julius Randle, DiVincenzo on top of it, there are certainly a couple guys that will be worked into and definitely try to find their role and just kind of come together in their, in their place. Could very well see something positive happen out of that. It's got my stamp of approval. I could definitely see this deal be well worth it in years to come.
That's good, because I think, Finchie's done a good job with him too. So
absolutely.
I think, I'm not in the camp of get rid of him, trade him, he's terrible. It's like, well, I think he's worth it, and I think he's a good addition. So, All right, next one, Voldy and Tate.
We head to the world of Major League Baseball. The World Series has been decided. Who will verse who? It is the Los Angeles Dodgers against the New York Yankees. Everybody wanted to see this matchup if you're from Los Angeles or New York or one of those bandwagon fans that decides to choose that their team is either the Yankees or the Dodgers. Baseball teams that you could possibly say, given the fact of the star power with the Yankees and the Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani versus Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Juan Soto. List goes on and on. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. Again, list goes on and on. These two teams will face off, not for the first time, but of course a very storied rivalry when it comes to the World Series years and years ago. But of course, we've seen how both these teams have made their trips through the playoffs to this point. Who do you got winning the World Series? Straight up question, who is going to be the World Series champion at the end of this best of 7 series?
And we asked this of the zoners as well. Let us know who you guys think will win the World Series. It's pretty simple, and there's a lot of people. A lot of people are saying that there's hate for the Dodgers, there's hate for the Yankees. There's a mutual hate for. I'm just saying some baseball fans and everything like that. But to pick out of the two evils, and I don't really hate the Dodgers as much. I really don't have any issue with them. Hey, they go out, they spend money. Hey, guess what? So do the Yankees. This is these are franchises who are well compensated. Don't get me wrong. But give me the Los Angeles Dodgers. I got the Dodgers winning the World Series. I don't want the Yankees, even though it looks like the Yankees probably will win, but I wouldn't count out the Dodgers. And the Yankees being back since I couldn't believe it. Back since 2009, huh?
2009.
I remember that series for sure.
Sadly, I remember that series as
Me
well.
too.
And
It
then
was
again,
against
the
Phillies,
Red Sox
right?
have won 2 World Series since then, so I'm happy about that. So.
Wasn't that one against the Phillies, or is that?
It was against the Phillies. The Phillies were looking to repeat as champions because they won it the year before in 2008.
Damn it. Well, so yeah, I guess I'll say this. I got Dodgers. I got Shohei. He'll get his first World Series. I'll take them in. I'm going to go 6. Let's go 6, just because the Yankees will be the Yankees, and but I think they get the job done and win in 6. So, Voldy, Tate, what do you got?
I look at this matchup. There's a lot of things going to each side. The Dodgers are looking to claim a World Series title since that asterisk of a World Series title in 2020. A lot of people saying that wasn't a real World Series. They've got Shohei. They want to make sure that the first year that they've got him, that it does bear fruit in a World Series championship, especially with the moves that they've made in the last 3 or 4 years, getting Mookie Betts, signing Freddie Freeman, and all the guys that they've returned with, of course, now their starting rotation. Clayton Kershaw been out for some time, and his inconsistency with being healthy enough to pitch. There's a lot to that side. Now, on the other side, with the Yankees, of course, going out and getting a guy like Juan Soto, Giancarlo Stanton, signing Aaron Judge, and all the pieces that go along with that. Anthony Rizzo being a chiseled veteran that he is. There's a lot to be said on that side. Now, I look at both these teams. I want to say it's going to come down to the bullpen. It usually does at this time of the year, World Series. If you can get 5 innings out of your starter, that's a miracle within itself, given how long both these teams have still been in it and continue to play it throughout. I look at both bullpens, and I want to side with the Dodgers on this one. I don't know why. I've seen a lot more of the Yankees this postseason. Their bullpen has been suspect. They almost gave the series away against the Guardians multiple times. And, well, the Guardians pissed it down their leg, for lack of a better term. So I have got the Dodgers going. I'm going to say 2 of the greatest words ever. Game 7. It's going to be a 7-game series. Yeah. Dodgers winning in 7.
God, I hope so. I really hope so. I
hope so too.
I can't stand those Yankees.
I want to get some reactions out of the guys that we talked to on Saturday, because I know Clements has got some opinions about the Yankees and the Dodgers too. So this should be fun.
We gotta talk pole ads with him too. So
there'll
be a lot. There's a lot of stuff we need to discuss with Mr. Clements and the rest of the crew. So, and our 2023 most best guest as well with Moser. So there'll be a lot going on.
Yes, there will be.
All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, finally, we can answer a question that creative consultant Mrs. Sarah Ann Tuzvold has been asking me for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Is Tua back yet? And yes, Tuatagovailoa will practice this week after missing the past 4 games, according to head coach for the Miami Dolphins in Mike McDaniel. Now, Tua has been on the IR with his 3rd diagnosed concussion of his NFL career, but the Dolphins currently sitting at 2-4, 3 out of the last 4 games, and have been losses with 2.5 games back in the AFC East. But the way the AFC is shaping up, not completely out of the realm of battling for a playoff spot. Now, with Tua back into the fold starting, we've seen how the quarterback situation for the Dolphins has wavered. They have not looked the greatest in multiple areas. But with that also being thrown out, the consideration of retirement, whether he was going to be wearing a Guardian cap, he said that he's not going to be wearing a Guardian cap due to personal choices. Is it absurd or approved? Now with Tua maybe not starting yet, him practicing, will Tua be able to turn things around for the Dolphins when he does get the return to start as quarterback?
Well, let me preface this by saying I think it's ridiculous that he's not wearing the Guardian cap. I've done research on concussions. They're no joke, and with the severity that he's had those, even though that's his choice, and who gives a crap what I say about it, but he needs to learn how to slide. RG3, he didn't learn how to slide, ruined his career. Tua needs to figure that out. If he is going to scramble, he needs to slide. If he gets another concussion, he really has to consider possibly retiring. And, if he keeps coming back and, everything like that, and but, he could prove people wrong and say, no, screw you guys. I still want to play. Hey, man, that's your decision. You go ahead and do it. But, there's a lot of people that are worried for you, too. So a lot to factor in with the whole concussion thing. But to answer your question, will they be able to, turn things around? I'm leaning towards yes. And the reason why I say that is the quarterback play from the Dolphins has been
atrocious.
Really bad. I mean, Tyler Huntley has been
bad.
Terrible. Was it Skylar Thompson barely even lasted a game? I don't even know who they have behind him. Like, it's nuts.
Somebody.
Behind Huntley.
Nobody good.
Whatever. Yeah, nobody good, that's for sure. And, the defense has actually played pretty well, holding teams to in the teens, I think, of points and stuff like that. Devon Achane was hurt a little bit, got him back. And that's not just for the sake of my fantasy team. No,
yeah, you and me both.
It's helped because I do have Tyreek Hill in one of my leagues. But no one cares. It's okay. I'm going to say yes. And the reason why I say yes is yes, I think a playoff card spot is the best way to describe the whole thing with the current situation. But do I see them going as far as that? Probably not, if I'm being honest. Right. So, I think they'll turn it around. They could be in the mix for the playoffs, but I'm leaving it at that. Tyreek's excited for him to be back, so it'll be interesting to see how they get things rolling with Tua back. So, stamp approval. Voldy, Tate, what do you got?
Especially with the Guardian cap situation, what worse could it do? I know I've seen things where they have like the helmets that are quarterback specific, which is basically like wearing a Guardian cap. I can understand that. But if I'm Tua in this situation, look, you got to take your pride out of it. You got to take your pride completely out of it. What am I going to be any use if I get another concussion and I turn myself into a vegetable at that point? It's not going to do anybody any good. Not for the team, not for the fans, not for your family, not for yourself. I would, if in my own right, give myself as much help as possible. Like, I understand, he's not been exactly the most healthy person, at least when it comes to injuries in his entire career. But any little bit to help would certainly be the way that I would go. Now, getting back to him being effective enough to lead this team, we saw as soon as he went down, I mean, any production whatsoever went right down the toilet. Sure, they were able to get at least one win out of the last 4 games, but what good does that do for you, especially when Buffalo's running away from the division? You've got, you've got the Jets trying to figure something out, kind of in the same boat, minus the fact that their quarterback is actually healthy. They just need an offensive line to be able to block for said quarterback and allow time for his, out of this world of receivers to do some damage. Now, again, not completely out of the realm of possibility for them to come back, but they need to win a lot of games, and they need to do it, at a fairly decent clip with Tua in that starting lineup as the quarterback. Now, Is it possible? It certainly is. It's got my stamp of approval. I could see him being effective enough to get the Dolphins back up and running. Will it be this Sunday? I don't know. It's yet to be said whether or not it's going to be. It's against Arizona too. Could very well be quite the matchup for him, but if he does have a good week of practice, very well could see him on Sunday, and I would definitely not snuff against it and maybe recommend creative consultant Mrs. Sarah Ann Twoesvold to put him in her starting lineup and get him off the IR, because she keeps asking me every week, is Tua coming back or not?
I believe our creative consultant gave our guy Mikey Ryan his first loss of the season.
Yes.
So congratulations.
She's been very prideful about that. She wants
Mikey,
to come on and talk about fantasy.
So I asked Mikey, are you still, like, I didn't look at it until later on, and I asked him, and Mikey goes, yeah, I lost by a couple points or whatever by Mama Knows Best. Do you know that? I was like, that's Voldy's
That's
wife.
a big L right there.
And he's like,
That's
oh, man. Oh, it's crazy. Well, he goes,
Loser.
well, he said, obviously, congrats and everything. But, yeah, no, but, again, you can't win them all, especially in fantasy. You can't win them all unless your just team's insane. So, yeah, congratulations to Sarah for taking down Mikey, giving him his first loss. So, all right, last one, Voldy and Tate.
Well, the saying goes, as the rich keep getting richer. Well, the Kansas City Chiefs are working to finalize a deal that will include former Pro Bowl wide receiver DeAndrehopkins to head to the land of the feather, that being Kansas City, from the Tennessee Titans in a swap of a 5th-round pick that could become a 4th-round pick if the Chiefs reach the Super Bowl. And DeAndrehopkins would play 60% of the snaps with Kansas City. Now, this all being thrown together, the Kansas City Chiefs have been hampered with injuries in the receiver room, of course, losing Rashee Rice, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown before the season even started, and most recently, Juju Smith-Schuster with a hamstring injury, but is already ruled to be out for this Sunday as well. Now, throwing that all together, 12-year veteran with DeAndrehopkins, looking at the backside of his career after suffering a torn MCL during the offseason, but did recover enough in time for the season opener. Is it absurd or approved? With this move, does this pretty much just lock up the Chiefs as being able to three-peat as Super Bowl champions with D-Hop now in the fold?
Well, they've been after D-Hop for a while now, apparently.
Right.
They just didn't have the financials, and they decided to, invest with defense, and their defense is top-notch. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But this, I think, here's what I'll say. I think it solidifies them as the AFC champions, and obviously they'd be in the Super Bowl. I wouldn't say this solidifies them three-peating. The reason why I say that is because D-Hop going to the Titans, you had Tannehill, there really wasn't much happening there. He had maybe a couple good games. You look at Levis is a mess. Absolute mess. There's not a whole lot going on there. But I think that D-Hop going to the Chiefs is going to help them immensely, because D-Hop's a guy that needs to have the ball thrown to him. He was stellar in Houston. He was stellar in Arizona, and then he goes to the Titans, and it's just kind of a train wreck. And now that you have a better quarterback with that, you have an aging Kelsey, and obviously he hasn't been the same at all this season as well. You need a spark, and I think they got him for I feel like it's a steal for the Chiefs in general to get D-Hop. And people question, well, is it maybe a little D-Hop too? He's getting up there in age, and things like, it's like, well, now that he's got Mahomes, I think that they'll be three-peating as AFC champions. But I wouldn't count out teams like the Ravens. They look damn good. Or the Bills, even without Diggs anymore. Now they have Amari Cooper. So AFC is not going to be as easy as they think because there's a lot of weapons on those teams. So I'd say absurd. I would say absurd because I think that there are things you can expose with the Chiefs. The Ravens should have beat them for sure in that first week. And I think teams are catching up to them now. So I don't see them three-peating, but I think this was a deal they had to make. So, all right, Shield, Tate, what do you think?
I mean, we've seen the last 2 seasons how the Chiefs have traded for wide receivers has certainly benefited them. 2 years ago, obviously, they traded for Kadarius Toney. He scores a touchdown in the Super Bowl, ends up setting up another touchdown. Beyond that, that's the only impact Kadarius Toney had other than key penalties in crucial situations for the Chiefs. Now, the other side, last year, I mean, they traded for a guy that they had the year before in McCall Hardman. Well, McCall Hardman scored the game-winning touchdown in overtime of the Super Bowl last year. Could we see something like that come up with D-Hop and the Chiefs? It very well could be. We've seen D-Hop in a lot of key situations. Look, you give him a quarterback and he can do damage. When he started his career in Houston, he had the braggadocious play of Deshaun Watson. Those two were a lethal combination in trying to get Houston off the ground. And like I said multiple times, you give Deshaun Watson any sort of offensive line and help, he's an MVP candidate. And that has not aged very well since the first time that I said it. He went to Arizona. He had a few nice games with Kyler Murray, but then the whole bad knee, trouble with watching film, playing Call of Duty, it all went downhill from there, and he just had to go. Then he gets hurt. Then he goes to Tennessee. Tennessee is trying to figure things out. New coach, new system. Quarterback is flopping everywhere, left, right, and center. It just hasn't worked out for him in Nashville. I feel that if you give him, obviously, any sort of time with Patrick Mahomes, we could see a little bit of a career resurgence with D-Hop in Kansas City, and it could very well play out to that. As far as three-peating, it's going to be a tough road. We've already seen it this year, and from the way the AFC has come to play this season with the likes of, you throw in Buffalo, Baltimore this year, they've just beat up on each other and obviously beat up on other teams to the point where it's not going to be an easy road out of the conference. Is it going to lead to a three-peat? I'm going to say it's absurd, but they'll certainly make it very, very interesting down the stretch.
That is for sure. So we'll see how it pans out for the Chiefs. They are still undefeated, the only undefeated team in the NFL right now. So that's what we got. Great job with ARA this week, Voldy, as always. And Shield shoutouts tonight. We got some Shield shoutouts to get to. So I say we get it going with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, it is time for a Shield shout-out. So, Shield, Tate, who are you shouting out tonight?
Well, we do have to send a Shield shout-out to friend of the program, my sister-in-law, Molly Vold, for looking out for us, being our grammar liaison, if you will, making sure that our graphic for the second annual Granite City Lumberjack Special is up to standards, correcting a simple mistake. Stuff like that happens, but luckily enough, we caught it well before anything got worse beyond that. So shout out to Molly Vold, the commish, for that. And sadly, we do say rest in peace to Los Angeles Dodgers legend Fernando Valenzuela. 1980 season, Fernando Mania took over the world. Of course, he sadly passed away after battling cancer, the 6-time All-Star. In 1981, he was the Rookie of the Year, the MVP, and also World Series champion when Fernando Mania swept the world itself, and also had his number retired with the Dodgers of number 34, while also formerly being the Spanish color commentator for broadcast for the Los Angeles Dodgers before stepping away to work on his health. Sadly, Fernando Valenzuela did pass away here this week, and that will do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
Very good shout-outs this week. I take blame. All right, I know. I take blame.
It happens.
Listen. That that was snuck in there. Like
It did.
it was hard to tell. I mean, that took some peering in, and
She's got an eye for stuff like that,
she
so
really does.
it helps and it hurts all at the same time.
yeah. Well,
I'll
I'm
probably
thankful.
still get a couple of bucks in fines for that, but we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we appreciate it, that's for sure. But updated graphic, we're good to go. So,
There we go.
great job with shield shoutouts as always, Voldy.
Thank
And
you, sir.
you know the deal. Perfect segue. We have our Granite City Lumberjacks special on Saturday, 3 p.m. start time. We're gonna talk with Clements, talk with Moser. We're gonna talk with DJ Vold. I have made the request to talk with Jimbo.
If he's not busy, we'll see.
Well, if he's, that's right.
Busy man,
that's right.
busy man.
And we got some other guys that we want to get on as well. So we've got a lot of options. Let's talk to those guys. Make sure you tune in Saturday at 3 p.m. and we'll have a lot of fun. And with that being said, too, get those picks in. Get them in, man. No prize this week, but congratulations to Seymour for winning Pick'em this week. So he got the most points, and he's going to get the winter cap. So, and another perfect segue. We got merch, people. We've got plenty of merch. You see the hat that I got on right here, the badass hat that we got, the camo hats, the American flag hats. Jason was wearing it just to, during our segment there. We've got plenty of stuff, winter caps, the tumblers, the sweatpants, the shirts, whatever you need, the stickers, we still got a lot of stickers. So let us know. We will give you prices and everything like that. So, all right. And thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. And make sure you check out W2 Performance. Our guy, Will Rattel, at www.w2performance.com. Make sure you check out on the socials. And make sure you check out the Brotherly Ballers podcast. Tyler Hermann, Jack Vickers. I believe Tyler is leading the Pick'em right now overall. So what happens then? I don't know. I mean, do you just keep the signed helmets? I don't know. Him and Jack Vickers do a great job. Make sure you check out everything fantasy football wise. And make sure you check out TLS Performance, our guy, Troy Stoudemire Jr., doing some big things as well, cheering on the Gophers, by the way. Gophers play this weekend against Maryland, so he'll be cheering them on. And make sure you check out the Popcorn Bucket List, Nick Dahlhoff, and our guy, the Rhino, Ryan Meyerberg. You know the deal with that. Omni Entertainment. Latest movies coming up, things like that. I think they'll have a video coming out here this week. So make sure you check those guys out. A lot of cool stuff. All right. Well, that's going to do it for episode 212. Again, reminder, our Granite City Lumberjack special, our second annual Granite City Lumberjack special is this Saturday, 3 p.m. And if you want to check out the game, 7:30 p.m. puck drop. Make sure you're there, or make sure you tune in, or if you're in town, check us out. We'd love to hear from you, and we can't wait to get it going again. Kerf Doctor will be there running the controls, so claps out to him for taking the time to do that, and we got all the equipment we need, and it's going to be another fun special, so we're looking forward to it.
Hell yeah.
With that being said, Voldy and Tate and Zoners, remember, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.